if you constantly feel that you are failing at something without knowing exactly what it is, this story is about you. Not because you made a mistake, not because you broke a rule, but because you live as if your existence itself needed justification. Some people move through life with an unspoken certainty. They take up space naturally. They speak without rehearsing. They rest without guilt. Franz Kafka lived on the opposite side of that experience. He moved through the world as if he were borrowing his place in it, always ready to return it, always afraid of occupying too much space. Every action felt provisional. Every decision felt dangerous. Even moments of calm felt suspicious, as if peace was something he had not earned. This is not the story of a writer first. It is the story of a psychological condition, a wave inhabiting the world in which guilt arrives before action and shame appears before pleasure. Long before his books existed, Franz Kafka already lived inside the emotional atmosphere that would later define them. From early childhood, he learned that authority did not need to justify itself. His father embodied certainty. He was physically imposing, loud, confident, deeply convinced of his own legitimacy. To a sensitive child, this presence was overwhelming, not necessarily because of constant cruelty, but because of contrast. Where the father acted decisively, the child hesitated. Where the father spoke with confidence, the child questioned himself. That difference was never neutral. It was interpreted as weakness. In such an environment, sensitivity does not feel like a trait. It feels like a flaw. Hesitation becomes failure. Doubt becomes guilt. Franz Kafka internalized this lesson so deeply that it no longer required an external source. Authority became abstract, invisible, omnipresent. He carried it inside himself. He did not rebel against it. He adapted to it. He learned to disappear inwardly. As he grew older, this inner authority shaped his entire relationship with life. He felt observed even when alone, evaluated even when no one was watching. Simple actions required enormous psychological preparation. Decisions felt final and therefore terrifying. Joy felt irresponsible. Rest felt undeserved. He lived in a permanent state of internal tension, as if life were an examination he had not prepared for and could not leave. This is how a particular kind of anxiety functions. It is not panic. It is pressure. Quiet, continuous, exhausting pressure. The pressure of believing that something is fundamentally wrong with you, even when nothing specific has happened. During the day, Franz Kafka worked in an insurance office dealing with workplace accidents. His job required him to calculate risks, evaluate injuries, determine responsibility. He saw daily how suffering could be translated into documents, numbers, procedures. He saw how systems function without empathy. This did not shock him. It confirmed something he already felt deeply: that systems do not need to hate you to destroy you. They only need to proceed. At night he wrote, not because he dreamed of being a writer. Writing was not ambition. It was necessity. It was the only space where the inner accusation softened slightly. Even there, doubt followed him. He questioned every sentence. He distrusted every impulse. Writing did not free him. It allowed him to survive. If this inner pressure feels familiar, stay here. Subscribe to LETTERIUM. These chronicles are not lessons. They are places of recognition. His relationships followed the same psychological pattern. Franz Kafka desired closeness, but feared exposure. To be seen felt dangerous. Love required presence, confidence, a sense of legitimacy. These were things he did not possess. Engagements began and collapsed under the weight of his self-doubt. Letters replaced touch. Explanation replaced action. He could analyze love endlessly, but could not inhabit it without fear. His body mirrored his mind. Insomnia hollowed him out. Eating became difficult. Fatigue became permanent. Illness arrived gradually and felt almost logical. Tuberculosis did not register as sudden tragedy. It felt like confirmation, proof that fragility had always been the truth. He did not fight his body. He endured it, just as he endured life. This psychological landscape is essential to understanding everything he wrote. When he imagined a man waking up transformed into something repulsive, he was not inventing absurdity. He was translating shame into form. When he imagined someone arrested without knowing the crime, he was describing his default emotional state. When he imagined endless corridors, unreachable authorities, doors that never opened despite effort, he was describing his relationship with legitimacy. In these worlds, guilt exists before action. Judgment exists without explanation. Power exists without face. These are not intellectual metaphors. They are lived sensations. Franz Kafka did not exaggerate reality. He stripped it of its comforting illusions. He did not believe in redemption. He believed in clarity. If fear could be fully exposed, perhaps it would stop multiplying in darkness. Writing became an act of exposure rather than confession. A way of saying this is what it feels like to live like this. Recognition frightened him. Publication felt invasive. Praise felt like misunderstanding. He asked that his work be destroyed after his death. Not from modesty, but from terror. Terror of being seen without defense. That request reveals his deepest fear. Not obscurity, but permanence. And yet, permanence arrived anyway. Today his name is used as shorthand for bureaucracy, alienation, oppressive systems. But this interpretation remains incomplete. Franz Kafka was not diagnosing society from a distance. He was describing what it feels like to exist inside invisible systems of judgment. Systems that modern life has perfected. We live surrounded by evaluations, metrics, silent standards. We rarely know the rules, yet we feel their pressure constantly. This is why his work feels contemporary. It names an inner experience that many share but cannot articulate. Franz Kafka did not want heroic freedom. He wanted permission. The right to exist without apology. The right to rest without guilt. The right to desire without fear of judgment. He died young, quietly, without resolution. There was no redemption arc, no reconciliation. But his inner truth survived because it was never unique. It was structural. Many recognize themselves in his fear because it is not literary. It is human. This was not the story of a great writer. It was the story of a human being who lived under constant inner accusation. If this chronicle stayed with you, if it made something inside you feel exposed or understood, subscribe to LETTERIUM. More human chronicles are coming. Franz Kafka remains with us not as a monument, but as a mirror,